welcome to our May meeting of the technical. Let me get another sip of this here. Maybe things will be better. Technical Advisory Committee. It's good to see you guys. We have a pretty meaty agenda today, so I'm glad you all could be with us. First off, of course, on the agenda is the reminder of our ethics considerations. Should you all received a copy of the agenda, the items we'll be considering today. If any of you have a conflict or a conflict exists within your extended family or any businesses which you are associated with, you please do need to let us know so that we can make the appropriate actions when we approach that particular item of business. Does anybody have a potential conflict of interest today? If not, thank you very much. Hunter, I'm not sure if you're doing it or if Matthew's doing it. Who has, we have anybody signed up for public comments?
We have not received any requests for public comment.
Okay, very good. Members, you did receive your March 16th minutes of this committee. You've had a chance to review them. Are there any revisions or corrections? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve them as submitted.
Move approval, Clark.
Second, Marion.
John, Mr. Larson, was that you that seconded?
I don't know that I'm legally at the meeting today. I think Winston-Salem has its 3 representatives.
Oh, okay. Well, very good. Well, you stick with us anyway. Who was our second, please? So we have it for the record.
That was Myron Marion.
Thank you, Myron. All righty. With that, we'll entertain. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Oh,
aye.
Mr. Chairman, I need to do the roll call vote.
Yeah.
You know, did the city attorney not get back with you on the opportunity for us to do this, or are we still stuck in the vacuum of the dark hole of calling roll?
I believe we are, sir.
Oh, goodness. Well, we'll make another attempt for next meeting, but we were hoping that we could get that rule changed. We could move through these very quickly. All righty, Matthew, are you or Hunter going to do the roll call for us?
I'm ready. And if I leave a name out, please let me know, okay?
Very good.
Mr. Joins.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Ms. Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Brannon.
Yes.
Mr. Rocket.
Yes.
Mr. Combest.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Horn. Mr. Horn. Oh, can you hear me, sir?
I can. Am I muted? Shouldn't be. No,
All right.
we're good.
Take that for yes. Mr. Marion.
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins.
Yes.
Mr. Swaim.
Yes.
Mr. Morris.
Yes.
And Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very
Did I
good,
leave
members.
anybody off? Great. Passes unanimously, sir.
Passes unanimously. All righty, Matt, I think you have the next item on the agenda for our action item today.
I do. Thank you and good afternoon, Chairman Horn, members of the TAC and City Council as well. Item 3 is a consideration of the Federal Transit Administration Section 5307 grant program for fiscal year 23 funding allocations for the Winston-Salem urban area and amending the fiscal year 2020 to 2029 MTIP for operating and capital assistance. Transit systems located in urbanized areas of more than 200,000 people are eligible to use FTA Section 5307 funds for operating and capital assistance. For fiscal year 2023, FTA announced an allocation of $6,814,898. This is an increase of a little over $110,000 from fiscal year 22. Currently, there are 3 transit agencies in the MPO eligible to receive this funding based upon reporting to the National Transit Database. They are Davidson County Transportation, PART, and WISTA. The number of agencies may increase in future years. Job access and reverse commute activities continue to be eligible with these funds. In 2017, the MPO established it would reference FTA's Table 3A, an abridged portion of which is shown in Attachment A after this item. FTA's Table 3A identifies vehicles operated at peak fixed route and demand response service, as well as the percentage of the urbanized area apportionment, which is based upon vehicle revenue hours for each agency within the urbanized area. As noted in Attachment A, Davidson County Transportation will receive $244,776. PART will receive $758,596, and WISTA will receive $5,726,526, with the remaining $55,000 going to JARC programs. MPO staff coordinated a joint allocation meeting with the aforementioned agencies to confirm use of funding and agreement with the allocations, and staff is recommending approval of an amendment to the MTIP. I'm happy to take any questions on this.
Matt, any questions for Matt?
Move for approval, Mr. President.
Becca, just clarification, I think misspoke. The WISTA allocation is $5,756,000. I think you inadvertently said 26,000, but I think the
sorry about that.
solution is correct in that regard.
Yep.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Ms. Adams makes the motion. Who made the second, please?
Alan.
Mayor Joyce makes the second. Any discussion? All righty, please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Joines made the second. Mr. Clark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Adams made the motion. Mr. Brandon?
Yes.
Mr. Rocket?
Yes.
Mr. Combest?
Aye.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Marion?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Swaim?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
And Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. That is unanimous. The motion passes. I believe this is the Matt show today. You're up again, buddy.
At least to the beginning. Item 4 is a consideration of the Federal Transit Administration Section 5339 Bus and Bus Facilities Grant Program funding allocation for the Winston-Salem urban area for fiscal year 2023, and an amendment to the MTIP as well. The FTA Section 5339 program is a formula grant program to replace, rehabilitate, and purchase buses and bus facilities. The program provides federal resources to direct recipients that operate fixed route bus services or that allocate funding to fixed route bus operators. The Winston-Salem urban area is eligible to receive $571,757 in fiscal year 2023. WISTA is requesting to use the funds to purchase 3 TransAid vans to replace aging fleet. The remainder will be used for facility rehabilitation projects and capital maintenance. The public participation period was held for 30 days between April 13th and May 13th, 2023. We did not receive any comments. Following TAC approval, Section 5339 will be programmed and amended in the MTIP, as well as the 2020 to 2029 STIP, followed by submission to FTA for final approval. Happy to take any questions on this as well.
Any questions for Matt on this? If not, once again, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Move approval, Clark.
Second, Adams.
Mr. Clark makes the motion. Ms. Adams makes a second. Any discussion? All righty, please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Joines?
Yes.
Let's see, Mr. Clark made the motion. Ms. Adams made the second. Mr. Brandon?
Yes.
Mr. Rocket?
Yes.
Mr. Combest?
Aye.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Marion?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Swaim?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
And Mr. Perkins?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
That passes unanimously. Matt, item number 5, please.
All right, thank you. Last one for me, and then you get to hear a different voice. Item 5 is a consideration of the Federal Transit Administration Section 5310, an Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities Grant Program, and the Section 5307 Job Access and Reverse Commute, and plans to amend the MTIP for fiscal year 2022. The Winston-Salem urban area receives federal transportation funds to assist eligible agencies in meeting the transportation needs of the elderly and disabled in the urbanized area under the FTA Section 5310 grant program. In fiscal year 2022, the MPO received $530,832 for 5310 apportionments, with an additional $63,446 in COVID relief funds courtesy of the CRISA grant, which is the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act. Additionally, $55,000 was allocated to award agencies for JARC activities, with an additional $115,076 in ARPA funds, or American Relief Plan Act funds. These funds are all allocated to subrecipients through a competitive process. The MPO received 8 applications for 5310 and 3 for JARC for a total of $870,500 and $125,000 respectively. An external subcommittee from the City of Greensboro evaluated these applications based upon criteria outlined in the MPO Federal Program Management Plan. Applicants were scored out of 100 points and received recommendations based upon their scores, the requested amounts, and their ability to adhere to the criteria outlined in the plan. This recommendation also includes recommended approval of an amendment to the MTIP. The following attachments include a tentative schedule of this process, as well as scoring and recommended allocations for the applicants. Please note that while these grants undergo the same competitive processes, there are 2 separate resolutions requiring approval for this item.
Very
happy to
good.
take any
Any
questions on
questions? Any questions for Matt? Matt, did we ever figure out, or maybe you just said this, but I missed it, what CRRSAA stands for?
Yeah,
Or-
it is. Thank you, Chairman Horn. It's the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act.
Great. Thank you. And whoever came up with that acronym, you're fired.
Mhm.
Members, we do have 2 resolutions to consider this. The first one is Resolution 5A, and that's for our 5310 allocation. May we entertain a motion, please?
Move approval, Clark.
Second, Joins.
Mr. Clark makes the motion. Mayor Joynes makes the second. Any further discussion? Let us call the roll, please. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Joynes made the second. Mr. Clark made the motion. Ms. Adams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Brandon?
Yes.
Mr. Rocket?
Yes.
Mr. Combest?
Aye.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Marion?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Swaim?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
And I believe Mr. Clark joined us as well. How do you vote, sir? Oh, Mr. Clark?
You want me, Robert?
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Willie Clark. He joined us just now, I believe. Oh, I believe you're muted, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Clark, good to see you.
Thank
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, that was for Resolution 5A. Our second resolution is 5B, and it's for funding for our 5307 program. May we have a motion, please?
Move approval, Robert Clark.
Adams, second.
Mr. Clark makes the motion. Ms. Adams makes the second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Joynes?
Yes.
Mr. Clark made the motion. Ms. Adams seconded the motion. Mr. Brandon?
Yes.
Mr. Rocket?
Yes.
Mr. Combest?
Aye.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Marion?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Swaim?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
And Mr. Willie Clark?
Yes.
Thank you.
Members, that passes unanimously. Hunter, I believe you have item number 6.
Yes, sir, and good afternoon, everyone. The item before you is item number 6, and that is the consideration of the fiscal year 2020 through 2029 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program. Amendments and modifications for the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO. The MTIP is a subset of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and reflects our planning areas projects that are programmed in the State Transportation Improvement Program. The attached item N was presented into the Board of Transportation in March. And while this item N from NCDOT did not contain projects specific to the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO, it is our MPO policy to present statewide amendments and additions to the STIP for incorporation into our MTIP. The item was subject to a minimum of 30 days review, and no comments were received during that time. Happy to take any questions on this one.
Anyone have any objections to any of the projects? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve, please.
Clark, approve, make the motion to approve.
Adams, second.
Mr. Clark makes the motion. Ms. Adams makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? We'll call the roll to see.
Mr. Joynes, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Clark made the motion. Ms. Adams seconded the motion. Mr. Brandon?
Yes.
Mr. Rocket?
Yes.
Mr. Combest,
Aye.
Mr. Horn.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Marion,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Mr. Swaim,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Perkins,
Yes. Yes.
and Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Members, that concludes our action items today. We're going into our informational items. I'm going to kind of throw a curve at you, Jeff, if we could. I'd like to move number 11 forward for discussion at this point in case any of our members have to drop off in the course of the informational items. Is that good for you?
Mayor Horn, I played a lot of baseball. I never could hit curveballs too well, but I will do my best. So if we can get that teed up on the screen. Yeah, it looks like that, Mayor Horn. I'm happy. So I'm getting a little bit of an echo. Hopefully that can resolve itself. But thank you, Mayor Horn, and members of the committee. Item before you really is to talk about is really the review of a resolution supporting what we're calling the Winston-Salem to Raleigh and Winston-Salem to Charlotte NC corridors, rail corridor, let me be specific. So basically, in March of 2023, NCDOT submitted applications for 12 rail corridors to be considered by under the US DOT Federal Railroad Corridor Identification and Development Program. And basically, of those 12 corridors, 2 are of interest and of really of note here for our MPO and affect our MPO community here with Winston-Salem. Of those, of course, is Winston-Salem to Raleigh and Winston-Salem to Charlotte. So the Corridor ID program really was authorized by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and provides funding for various development activities, including the scoping, the scheduling, cost estimations, et cetera, really to develop these plans for passenger rail. And so what we have found was that our MPO, we haven't brought this forward to document and formalize our elements of support and our really pass a resolution of support. Other agencies such as City of Winston-Salem and Mayor Joynes have issued their letters of support. And Mayor Horn, this item would bring forth a formal resolution of support for those passenger rail corridors identified by this program. And then there's some planning efforts around that moving forward. So this item is to document where we're heading and the interest in the area for those 2 corridors, and then to provide opportunity to formalize this resolution of support moving forward. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm on a statewide task force that the League of Municipalities put together that's working to support and push these corridors forward. A lot of money available. Something I think is over $160 billion were generally budgeted for it. There's already been $66 billion appropriated. So a lot of dollars. If we can, this is probably maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity for us to get those coverages. I know Mayor Pro Tem has been pushing hard on this for a long time, and so I'm enthusiastically in favor of this resolution when it's ready for a vote next time.
Very good.
And Mayor Horn, I know we've got some planning efforts around our next action item meeting that we'll propose later on in this meeting. So at your discretion, how you want to introduce our plans moving forward. I'll take guidance from you.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. For those of you who are old enough to remember, when the rail division's first proposal for rail service came out, Winston-Salem was left out of the loop. And there were a number of us who put together a presentation. We went down and presented to the governor and I think made a relatively convincing argument, because in the next iteration of the plan, it showed the Winston-Salem spur that was included in that. This has been a long battle. I mean, it's probably, by the time this gets implemented, most of the people sitting here, with the exception of Mr. Clark, will be dead. But nevertheless, this is an important step in keeping us visible and keeping us active in this particular process. Let's take the resolution first, and then I've got another request of committee members. So if there are no objections, we'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second, Adams.
I believe Mr. Bessie.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a comment, please.
Yes, ma'am.
In March, when I was at the National League of Cities, I had an opportunity to meet the Federal Rail Administration Administrator Amit Bose. And it was in a workshop about the derailment of what's going on around the country with the chemicals and hazardous material. And I had Councilmember Jeff McIntosh with me, and I grabbed him by the hand when the session was over. I said, we got to go meet this guy. We got to go talk to him. So we went and met him, and I introduced myself, introduced Jeff, told him what city I was from. And immediately when I said Winston-Salem, the Piedmont Triad, he knew, he had heard the name of the city and the name of the area. And I said, we used to have a train, but we don't anymore. And went on to explain in about 2 or 3 minutes how economic development will pass us by if we don't have a train that moves us from west to east or west to south. And he told me then, he said, I think you guys might be even made the list. And I'm like, what list? And it was at that point that he told me that we are going to be considered along, I think there were like 10, 12 other places in the country and in North Carolina. And he named the other 2, which was Asheville and Raleigh or Charlotte, of course. But I told him that it was just so important for us to get our train back. So I just wanted to let everybody know, as the mayor said, we've been working on this deal probably as long as I've been on the council, which is 14 years, because the train stopped in Winston, I think it was 71 or 72. So let's all, hope that we can get a train back in here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Those comments are very important to put context around what we're trying to do here. Are there any other comments?
Mayor Horn, this is Jeff. I believe if this was presented as an information item, I think at your discretion, we could make a motion to move it as an action item should you choose, but I believe we'll need a motion to move that to an action item, and then we'll take the item of consideration.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. I wanted to advance that to this meeting rather than waiting until July so we could get it there. So I guess we're going to need two actions here, ladies and gentlemen. First one was to move item 11 into our action item category.
I'll so move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Mr. Bessie makes a motion. Ms. Adams makes a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please. No.
You love doing that, don't you?
I love that. So here we go. Let's have the roll call, please.
All right, Mr. Joynes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Clark? Robert Clark?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was muted.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Adams seconded the motion. Mr. Bessie made the motion. Mr. Brannon?
Yes.
Mr. Rocket?
Yes.
Mr. Combest?
Aye.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Marion?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Swain?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins? Oh, Mr. Perkins, are you there? All right, we'll move on. Mr. Willie Clark?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. That is unanimous, folks. And now we'll move on to the resolution of support. May we entertain a motion, please?
I enthusiastically move approval.
Second. Adams.
Very good. We have a motion with a big E by Mayor Joynes. We have a second by Ms. Adams. Any further discussion? All righty, please roll call.
All right, Mr. Joynes made the motion. Mr. Clark, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Adams seconded the motion. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Mr. Brannon?
Yes.
Mr. Rocket?
Yes.
Mr. Combest?
Aye.
Mr. Horn?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Marion?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Swain?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins? I believe we don't have Mr. Perkins, and Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good, members. That passes unanimously. The second reason why I wanted to move this item up in our agenda we have an opportunity, I think, to make a presentation to Jason Orthner, and he is the director of the North Carolina Rail Division. He made a presentation to, I believe, at our, I want to say it was at our part meeting, I believe, when we made the presentation. And it was a great presentation, but it talked about some of the rationale, why they're proposing what they're proposing, and it really was a great informational piece. What I felt at that time was that maybe Mr. I always pronounce this wrong, Mr. Orthner may not have a really good perception of what we have here in Winston-Salem, particularly with all the investment we've made in the innovation corridor. So we have invited him to come up for our July 20 meeting. And what I would ask members is that we do hold this meeting in person, because I'd like, number one, I'd like for him to see all of your smiling faces, but also the support that we have from across the MPO in support of what we're trying to do to get our 2 rail links included in the initial consultant studies. Any thoughts, folks? I think it's important that we be there to show support. We'll have a presentation at the TAC, but prior to that, we'll have Mr. Orthner give him a little tour of Winston, a little tour, particularly of the innovation corridor, and hopefully we can press upon him why we need passenger rail here. Thoughts, members?
I'm all in.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. He's on this task force that I mentioned, and he gave a long presentation today. So he's a good guy to get on our side for sure.
Very good. Members, are there any objections to having our July meeting in person? Excellent. Well, that'll be wonderful. I look forward to seeing you all in person. But the second reason that I wanted to do this is that we probably have singularly the most important action that we will take, and that's submitting our projects from this MPO for prioritization 7. It's no longer 7 point anything, it's just prioritization 7. We're going to be voting on a little over $500 million worth of projects. And I think something of that significance, it's important that we do meet in public or meet in person so that we can share our thoughts and recognize that this is a very important function of this particular committee. So with that said, Jeff, do you want to, I don't think we need a motion to move the meeting, do we, into in person?
I think, Mr. Chairman, we had a motion to go full virtual. I think we will need a motion to postpone that for one meeting and have an in-person meeting. I will make note this is an offsite, and I want to just call attention, Mayor Horn, that it is at a different location at Salem Lake Marina for that distinction. So I do think we will need a motion formalizing that move and that change.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. May we have a motion, please?
So
I also move, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. I believe Mr. Bessie made the motion. Mr. Clark made the second.
Yep.
And this is to move our January meeting from a virtual meeting to our July meeting from a virtual meeting to an in-person meeting. And we'll be holding it at Salem Lake Marina. Any other discussion? All righty, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Joynes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Clark seconded the motion. Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Bessie made the motion. Mr. Brannon?
Yes.
Mr. Rocket?
Yes.
Mr. Combest?
Aye.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Marion?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Swain?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
I concur.
And Mr. Willie Clark?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
So that is unanimous. And thank you, members, for your indulgence in being able to move this meeting in person. As I said, I think it's important. And as appropriately, a good segue to informational item number 7. Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor Horn, and good afternoon again, everyone. The item before you is item number 7, the review of the Prioritization 7.0 Highway, Bicycle and Pedestrian, Public Transportation, Aviation, and Rail projects for the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO. This list represents the first step in an approximately 2-year process for programming projects into the 2026 through 2035 State Transportation Improvement Program. The identification of projects across modes of transportation that will be submitted upon TCC and TAC approval for evaluation and scoring by NCDOT. I would like to note that in the spreadsheet, in the next issue, there will be a couple of minor edits. That includes a cost revision to H191619 or project reference ID number 14, which based on previous communication received from Town of Louisville, we will do a cost revision on that one. We may accept other cost estimate updates as we get them. And next, there will be a transition of project reference number 48, the Jonestown Road interchange, from carryover status to actually a project that we submit for highway. The highway mode of transportation now has a total project count submittal of 21 projects, followed by 22 bicycle and pedestrian projects for submission, 4 transit projects, 1 aviation project, and 1 rail project that will be submitted in total. I'll be happy to take any questions on this item. Thank you.
Any questions for Hunter? By the way, Hunter, I don't know. I suspect you had a hand in developing all these maps, but this is really a good visual presentation of these projects.
Thank you, but I would actually like to shout out our new engineering tech, Natasia Hale, for her assistance in making these maps. So definitely want to give the credit there. Thank you, Mayor Horn.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any questions for Hunter? All righty. Item number 8. Hunter, you're up again.
All right. One moment, please. All right. The item before you here is the review of an update to the CMAQ and CRP joint call for projects, application process, and project selection criteria for the Winston-Salem urban area MPO. This one may be a little longer because I have a couple of other updates about CMAQ and CRP that might be useful. But first, we'll dive into the item here. So this spring, a committee of 9 participants from our MPO agencies came together to review and approve a new application process and selection criteria for our MPO. The updated criteria moved the MPO away from a process that used to be exclusively based on emissions reduction values to a more holistic set of criteria based on emissions reductions, while also considering congestion management, community health and safety, equity, project readiness, and connectivity and innovation, all things embedded in the MPO's Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Projects will go through a 3-tiered weighted rank process comprised of an emissions reduction rank, quantitative scorecard rank, and a qualitative narrative-based rank from a project selection committee, with funding being awarded in rank order until funding runs out. More information about the criteria and the process can be found in the enclosed packet entitled Proposal for a Revised Application Process and Project Selection Criteria. Before moving on to questions, I did want to provide a quick note that for some of our municipalities who submitted projects in the fiscal year 22 through fiscal year 24 CMAQ and CRP calls this fall and winter, we do expect to receive formal award letters from NCDOT certifying those project selections by later this month or by end of June at latest. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions on this item.
Quick question. What is the weighting of each one of the categories?
Sure. So the weighting of each category, the first weight is for the emissions reduction rank. That will be around 50% for each project. There will be some projects that will have to receive a 75% weighted rank based on their emissions reduction program or emissions reduction value if they are not spatial projects, because the next weighted rank is based on a quantitative checklist, and that is a scorecard based assessment that is used for spatial projects. So if there is an intersection or a specific road from point A to point B, we're able to assess those and say, okay, this is in a census block with traditionally disadvantaged populations, and therefore gets some weight and extra points for that. There are projects that may be more along the lines of transportation demand management strategies or non-specific transit improvements, such as the purchase of vehicles, that may not be spatial in nature, and therefore we cannot fairly assess them on the quantitative checklist. And so they would not get their 25% from that, and they would instead get 75% of their total final score from the emissions reduction value. The third piece of that is the qualitative assessment, which is based on a narrative section where each project applicant will be asked to respond to, I believe, 5 different prompts related to how the project addresses equity, congestion management, and project readiness, and so on. And that will be evaluated by a committee of 5 folks, including 1 member of the public, someone from Winston-Salem DOT and North Carolina Division 9. And the rank that that project receives from the narrative will be about 25%. And so in total, you'll get a whole weighted rank that adds up to 100%, and that will be the cumulative rank that ultimately decides which one gets funded.
Very good, Hunter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? All righty. Boy, today's been the Hunter and Matt show. Hunter, you got the next one as well.
Let's see. 1 second. All right, thank you. All right, the item before you is the review of the fiscal year 2020 through 2029 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program amendments and modifications for the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO. The MTIP, as I stated earlier, is a subset of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and reflects the planning areas projects programmed in the STIP. The attached items N for the months of April and May were presented to the Board of Transportation and will be available for public review for 30 days between June 1st and June 30th. Happy to address any questions.
Any questions? Very good. As a reminder, these are all information items today will be on our agenda for action item in July. Matthew, you have number 10.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon again, TAC members. So the item before you is information related to a review of an amendment to our comprehensive transportation plan to remove what we're calling the 311 project. So a little bit of background on that. The city of Winston-Salem owns a series of properties near Klein Street in the southeast ward of the city, for which the intention is to construct approximately 378 affordable housing units. Affordable housing has become one of the top priorities for the city, and in part because fewer than half of all rental units in Winston-Salem are affordable to families earning 80% of the area median income or less. The City of Winston-Salem Community Development Department is pursuing options to construct affordable housing on the properties near Klein Street, and intends to issue a request for proposals to solicit proposals for private development of housing units on those properties. That private investment would be supplemented with approximately $9.5 million in federal housing funds through a grant from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. To determine the applicability of federal funding investment, HUD requires the city to conduct an environmental assessment of the properties and the project. That would identify potential environmental impacts of the proposal and the viability of the project generally. One of the components of the EA requires a review of existing plans, and through that review, community development staff identified the 311 connector project in our CTP to be in direct conflict with that proposed housing development. The 311 connector, as proposed in the CTP, would provide a connection between Interstate 40 and Salem Parkway, just west of Salem Lake. And that alignment actually represented the original Northern Beltway alignment until the decision was made to shift the Beltway alignment further east. Community development staff reached out to MPO staff, requesting a review of that 311 connector project and requested its removal from the CTP so that that conflict with the HUD grant would be removed. MPO staff worked with NCDOT Division 9, and both parties concluded that 311 connector project was no longer economically feasible because of the mobility benefits provided by the Northern Beltway project. The next step that MPO staff undertook was to work with the Transportation Planning Division at NCDOT, and that group modeled the impacts of removing the 311 connector from the CTP and from the roadway network. And they determined that it would have no significant impact on the existing roadway network. So the Transportation to Planning Division therefore supports the removal of the 311 connector as well. So thank you to NCDOT staff for helping with that. MPO staff therefore recommends that we remove the 311 connector project from our CTP. And this type of removal of a project like this from the CTP requires public involvement. So we would make this item available for public review for the next 30 days between June 1st and June 30th. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about this.
This is Robert Clark. Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
The actual leg of the belt loop that's going east of here, when is that scheduled to be built?
I may have to defer to Mr. Ivy on this one.
Can y'all repeat that question?
Yeah, we're doing away with this connector because the actual beltway is going to be east of here.
That is correct.
When is that leg scheduled to be built?
It'll be completed. It's actually under construction. And
That's
will
what
be
I thought, yeah.
And it'll be completed by the end of 2026.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd just comment that I think this is an excellent move. There were always going to be some adverse neighborhood and environmental impacts of this particular route. So I think taking this off so we can move forward with badly needed affordable housing is a great move.
Concur in that, Mr. Chairman. We've got a goal ourselves of 750 units a year, and we need these houses very badly. And since we did that, I really appreciate DOT digging in and looking at the impact of removing this. And it certainly appears that would not impact us, and we need the housing.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments? All righty, members, that concludes our action items and information items for today. As always, there is a group of staff reports that are available for anybody that wishes to ask about those. If you wish to have reports, hopefully there'll be somebody who can make the presentation. If not, we'll move down to a couple of the last ones, which I do have some comments about. Any members wish any of these reports to be presented? All righty, thank you. Matthew, just want to bring us up to date, please, on our ethics compliance.
Yes, sir. So I appreciate everybody's help with that. We are fully compliant right now. So everybody did a great job of getting their forms in. We actually got compliments from the state ethics committee on the timeliness of our responses. So thank you, everybody, for taking care of that.
Excellent. Thank you, members. That's important. I do want to recognize once again, Hunter, I don't know how many of you all really spend some time with the Moving Times publication that Hunter does, but the quality, the level, the writing, the information contained has really notched up. Hunter, we're so pleased with the work that you're doing and the presentation that you make. You take many of our complicated issues and boil them down into ways that the public can understand. Thank you very much for doing that. And also, folks, I hold up a picture, and of course you all have seen this, but the cover of our TAC reports. You know, I know I'm probably a crazy guy, but I look forward to getting these things in the mail because I'm anxious to see what Hunter does with the graphics and the presentation. So Hunter, your work is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Horn. I appreciate that.
Some sad news for us, but some good news for one of our staff members, Matthew Burzak, is moving on from this position to take a position with the city of Winston-Salem's planning department. Matthew, you've had quite a history here. I think you've gone from bikes to all kinds of other things. There we go, we're back on the screen. You absolutely always are on top of your game when you make your presentations. Your work is much appreciated, and we know you're going to be a great asset to the city. Hopefully at some point in our presentations in the future, you'll make a reappearance because it's always good to see you. So congratulations and best wishes on that promotion.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
All righty, folks, as we said, our next meeting is July 20. It'll be at Salem Lake Marina. Bring your sailor suits, your fishing poles, and we'll have a good meeting there. Are there any other matters to come before the committee this afternoon? Once again, staff, I'm always amazed at the level of competence and expertise that you bring to our meetings. It's very much appreciated, and I know you do. You put a lot of work in behind the scenes to make sure that we all look good, or at least appear to look good in knowing what we're doing. Very good. We'll entertain a motion, please, to adjourn the meeting today.
Move adjournment, Clark.
I'm sorry, that motion fails because of lack of a second.
I was gonna say, everybody wants to stay. Second.
I'm leaving. Y'all can do what you want to.
We do need a second, please.
Second.
All right, Mr. Clark makes the motion. Ms. Adams makes the second. Call the roll, please.
We don't need a.
No need to do that, sir.
Yeah.
You
You
just
know,
voice
I need a
vote.
cheat sheet where when we need to do this and when we don't
Yeah.
need to do this thing.
Yeah.
So I guess as long as I have Jeff and Matthew, that you guys will keep me straight. With that, members, thanks again for the time and effort and the work you do on our committee. It's important stuff. We look forward to seeing you in July in person. We're adjourned.
Take care.